Despite having the most research done on sleep and nutrition and all of these kind of stuff, we seem to be the least energized generation ever. We always hear people saying they're so sleepy, they're so lethargic, they only had this many hours of sleep, and they can't even get through the day, and they get home and then they can do nothing. And you're probably in the same boat if you clicked on this video. Lucky for you, I was in the exact same situation, and nowadays I have more energy than I know what to fucking do with. So, I'm going to talk about every single reason why this is literally you, and why, despite the fact that you seem to be doing all of the things that you know you should do, you still don't seem to get the whole thing together. It doesn't click. I'm going to be doing this in a way where there's no ChatGPT advice whatsoever. Like, I'm not going to tell you shit like, 8 hours of sleep. Have you heard of 8 hours of sleep? Because yes, you fucking have. I don't think you're a fucking kindergartner. Or if you are, like, hello, welcome to my channel, hee hee hee. Maybe you should, like, learn from less intellectual creators first. Sorry. Point being, this is a ladder. And if you understand how a ladder works, if you have some rungs that are missing, you can't really climb the ladder, because, I mean, you're here, and where will you put your foot? You're just like, oh shit, I can't put my foot anywhere because this rung's missing. And energy is kind of the same. This is why you feel not too energized, even though you're doing the good things. This rung represents getting 8 hours of sleep every night. This rung represents quality nutrition. This rung represents, I don't know, something else, and these all represent something, one piece of the whole puzzle. But the thing is, if one of them is missing, you're not going to be energized. For example's sake, let's just say this third rung that's missing is caffeine, and if you consume too much caffeine, it will hinder your sleep, and it will hinder your tolerance to caffeine, so when you do drink it next time, you won't be as energized. So if you don't have your caffeine in control, and you have a high caffeine tolerance, and you seem to spam it, and it also, like, ruins your dopamine and shit, then you're not going to be able to be energized, despite the fact that you have all of these boxes ticked, these reasons you have, and you get quality nutrition, and you get 8 hours of sleep. Just because you're fucking up your caffeine, you're not going to be energized. And it's kind of the same thing with any. If you have everything else in check, but you miss one of them, you're not going to be energized, and that's the harsh reality of it. Caffeine is simply the example that I'm going with here. Apply this to literally anything. If you don't get enough sleep, you will not be energized. If you don't have a reason to be energized, you won't be energized. If you don't eat quality nutrition, you won't be energized, etc., etc., right? I'm not going to tell you about exactly what you should eat. You already know by now that sugar is not that good, and eating ultra-processed foods is not that good. You're not dumb. I'm not going to treat you as you are. But blood sugar is something that, like, a very, very large quotient of the population is miseducated in. The way our gut works is it consumes the food that we eat, we digest it, and we, like a lot of shit in our neurobiology, in our just general physiology changes. And one of those things is blood sugar. So even some, like, generally considered healthy foods will still crash your blood sugar, and it will make you feel depleted. And these foods could be shit like fruit juices, and oats, and starchy vegetables. All of these kind of things have the qualities which will make you kind of crash. And the reason for that is that these have a high glycemic index. So this is what I want you to research. Just kidding, you're not going to have to research it too vigorously, because I'm going to be flashing something on screen right now, and it should be like a GI chart of what, like, some foods' glycemic indexes are. If you've ever eaten a lot of foods that are high on this chart that you see right now on your screen, chances are you've experienced something called food coma. Or, as the scientists like to call it, postprandial fatigue. And the problem with this, I missed a U there. And the problem with this is that it's caused by a lot of foods. And you can see which ones now. But realistically, this works in a way where this GI index basically measures how much it will spike your blood sugar. So the reason you get this postprandial fatigue is because your blood sugar is spiked. And then your body's like, oh shit, blood sugar coming, so it releases a bunch of insulin. And then that gets your blood sugar back down, and now you have pretty much no blood sugar. So it works in a way where it kind of acts like a counterbalance, and then is when you get this postprandial fatigue. That's when you actually get the brain fog, and you get the lethargy, and you get the tiredness feelings, is when your blood sugar crashes afterwards. So it looks something like this on a chart. Maybe you start eating, and what ends up happening is your blood sugar starts going up. And this is where your body's like, oh shit, we're getting a lot of blood sugar, we should pump the insulin. And your insulin starts going up, and then your blood sugar kind of crashes down, because it usually overcompensates for some reason. Your body does that. So if this red is your blood sugar, maybe your insulin is the black one. And this is how it goes. So your body starts pumping blood sugar, your body starts pumping insulin, excuse me, and your blood sugar goes down. And this is kind of where you get that postprandial fatigue. You may not have thought about this yet, but literally just digesting food will lead your body to get rid of some energy, because digestion is one of the most taxing functions that your body can possibly do on your energy. So when you're digesting, not only is the digestion just taking up some energy, you're also most likely experiencing this postprandial fatigue or food coma because of the high GI index foods you ate. GI index is usually somewhat linear with the amount of carbohydrates that the food has, but it's not entirely the same thing. So you might have realized that oats don't really have sugar. You know, fruit juices might have sugar, and starchy vegetables also don't have sugar, or at least not that much. Why is it that these also spike our blood sugar? And the reason for that is that oats are pretty much starch as well. So like these are one and the same things, and most of these complex carbs, also when you digest them, your body breaks them down as glucose. Glucose, spelled an O there, but that's an U. So it breaks them down as glucose, which is quite literally sugar. So anyway, if you just eat some carbs, you will experience a crash in blood sugar. That's because it will rise, and then you will modulate it. Point being, this is very, very intricate example of why it's not too good to eat high GI index food. So this is what you should actually be paying attention to. Now, the way you get out of this postprandial crash, this food coma, is just not getting into it. That's pretty much the easiest way to get out of it. And the way to not get into it is to look at this scale and to not eat foods that are very, very high GI index. And also, if you just really care about getting good work done, I would recommend just not eating food before you work whatsoever, because eating fasted, not only will you not have any of these high starchy kind of foods in your system, which will increase your blood sugar, release insulin, and then crash your blood sugar, you will also not just be you will just not be digesting. And you might have realized this, but once your body gets used to it, which only takes a few days, by the way, used to being fasted and used to not eating, you will actually realize that you're so fucking laser sharp. You will focus when you're fasted, because it's quite normal for human beings to be in this fasted state. Evolutionarily, we're quite used to it. So it's not really that big of a deal if you're fasted. You will usually get used to it in a few days, and you will experience extreme benefits. And the other thing is, just if you're really, really hungry, especially in the first few days once you're getting used to being fasted, just look at the scale and look at the foods that have very, very low GI indexes and eat them. One thing a lot of keto dudes advocate for is the bulletproof coffee. Butter is one of the lowest GI index foods. So what they do is they get coffee beans, they get water and butter. And literally, it's disgusting. I know. I promise you it's not that tasty. But if you combine them, you will get like an extra, 30, 50 calories, and you will be just that little bit less hungry, because this won't spike your blood sugar, it won't spike your insulin, it won't spike your ghrelin, your hunger signals. So if you just take this, you'll be just that little bit less hungry, even though you've ate. And that's a really cool thing, because usually hunger is a very weird thing. I'm not going to go too deep into the science behind it, but just eating will make you hungrier in a weird way. You've probably experienced this before, where this is why a lot of airlines give you like crisps and free shit. Like I was flying British Airways, and they always give like this 30 grams, just very, very few snacks. And if you look at the 30 grams, it's salty, it's sugary, and it's like starchy. And those are literally the three things which will make you more hungry in a small amount of time. So anyway, appetizers and like small snacks like this only make you hungry. And if you eat something that's low on the GI index, that isn't starchy, that isn't salty, that isn't sugary, something like butter, for example, or the things that I flashed on this GI index thing just a few moments ago, you will be able to feel satiated and actually have calories in your system if you're not used to being fasted. Just fasting is cool, by the way, just be fasted. But if you don't want to be fasted, you can eat low GI foods and you will avoid this food coma. And finally, just don't eat that much carbs. I'm not a keto bro. I still eat carbs, by the way. But what I usually do is I delay my carb heavy meal towards the night time usually. So what I do is when I wake up, I don't eat anything. My first meal is kind of low carb. My second meal is moderate. It's usually like I don't know, some meat and some carbs. And usually at night I have like sandwiches or something that has like quite a high carbohydrate content. I'm not one of these fucking crypto or carnivore bros. I still eat carbs. I think carbs are delicious and I think they have a place in the human system, but I don't think they're that good if we're looking at productivity. So delaying them is quite nice for your productivity. The second thing we must talk about is mental RAM overload. I have a whole entire video about this, so if this is something that you will find interesting, maybe you should click it right now. It should be popping up right now on the screen. And this basically means, do you have tasks in your system which you haven't done yet you are still kind of thinking about them, even if you're not? It might sound weird, but if you've been around the block on this channel, you know what I'm about to draw here. This is your subconscious mind, and this is your conscious mind. This is a tiny, tiny fragment of your mind, and the thoughts you have right now, you maybe think, oh, damn, this guy's very handsome, what he's saying is fucking facts, or some thought that you're thinking right now in your conscious mind. But the thing is, you have a shit ton of things here, which you've experienced, you've thought of, or it's just been implanted in your brain without you knowing. The thing is, your mind is constantly occupied, and your conscious mind is only doing like 1% of the processing that your whole entire mind is. Your subconscious mind is what dictates your ability to do pretty much anything. And whenever you have something unfinished in your brain, which we have a shit ton of things unfinished, by the way, you will kind of still be caught up with it. One very good example for this is people who have significant traumas that they haven't addressed yet. So maybe something happened to you in your childhood and you have these emotional outbursts just because you're not willing to confront this thing. So this thing lingers in your mind, it's still here, and maybe it was your mother was mean to you, maybe your daddy paid you no love and no attention, and now that's kind of what you do. You have these emotional outbursts, you have these like trauma. Pretty much what the definition of trauma is some event that modifies your life or the way you react in an abnormal way. So from now on, whenever you're faced with a certain situation, you react in an abnormal way. And that's just because this thing is still here, yet you're not focusing on it. You're not really conquering it. And if you gave yourself a bit of time, and you're like, oh shit, what is this? Oh, why am I reacting this way? Okay, what can we do about it? Should we do this? And you went to a therapist and you actually did what is necessary to get rid of this trauma, or at least to integrate it into your psyche. That would lead you to a healthier life. And that's a very deep example, but that could be one. Another example could just be not having a conversation with someone, or maybe an unfinished thing. You really think about these kind of things when you go to bed or in the shower, or you have these arguments in your head. Oh, I'm going to say this, and it's going to happen like this, and you don't really get to have all of those conversations, at least never in the way that you actually required them to happen. So what ends up happening is these kind of linger in your mind, again, just like unfinished things. And you're like, how many of these opportunities go away where you have to say something to someone, or at least you feel like it's your heart desire to, damn, I really want to tell her that this and that. I really want to tell my mother that this and that, and I really want to tell my friends this and that. And you don't get to do them because it's not that important, A lot of these things that actually end up stuck in your subconscious mind are in beta region, which is like between like 5 and 2 on a scale of 1 to 10. If we rank how good an event is, then it will get into beta region, or region beta, I think is a bit more better way to say it, but whatever, which basically says it's this region here, which is like, it's bad but not that bad, like not super bad, whereas like, we're not going to handle the problem right now, we're going to do it later. It's not bad enough to do it right now, but it's not really good. So it's like a problem and we know that we should handle it, but it's not bad enough. It's not here where it's bad enough to handle it right now. So what ends up happening is we don't fucking address them, and they end up lingering in our minds. And we have a bunch of things like this subconsciously in our minds that we don't even know what the fuck to do with. So what I recommend is you really do watch this video, because it will free up like a third of your fucking brain capacity because you're running low and you don't even know it. But what I end up doing as just a quick fix, I guess I'll give you the gist of it right now, is usually every year I have 1 month where I'm focused on my RAM tasks. Those are my number one priority. Now, that doesn't mean that life comes to an end and I don't go to the gym and I don't work and I don't really focus on any of this. No, I still put everything else, but I put them kind of on minimum because I really, really want these kind of things to empty out of my mind. I'm going to give you a few more examples. A random bank account you opened at 16 that you still haven't closed, yet you're getting billed for it. Every subscription that you forgot to cancel. Maybe you have a bunch of socks that don't have matching pairs to them, and they're still lying around. You have a bunch of clothes that you wanted to buy, but you never really gave your attention to them and you never went out shopping. Okay, you have this conversation that you haven't finished, we talked about that. You have this thing that you really wanted to buy but it's not really urgent, so you're not going to do it. You have this holiday that you really want to plan but you know it's not that urgent and you kind of have other things to do. You really didn't get your dentist checkup in a long time but you know it can wait, it's not that urgent anyway. You have this thing bothering you about your leg and it doesn't really work and it clicks every time you do this motion, but you know it's probably not that deep and you should not see a doctor yet because you know why not. You have this person that you think you would have really good chemistry with, but you're not really talking to them because, I don't know, it would be weird to initiate contact and everything. These are like things that we think about and they linger in our mind, but they're not bad enough to really tackle them. And then you'd get a month, and then that month, literally your sole priority is to tackle these issues. Because you know that you're right now like this. This is you. You have this shit going on in your mind and you don't even know it, but you're kind of sad because of it and you're operating at 60%. And if you get rid of them, sure, your mind will still have things going on in it, but it's much less. And now you're going to be happy. Now you're going to be running at 95%. And that's a beautiful increase just because you did the bare minimum tasks. So mental RAM is incredibly important to clear. And please, please, please pay attention to this and just have a notes tab in your notes app on your iPhone or your Android. And every single time you think of something, just do it. I'm part Irish. I have I'm like 25% Irish. One of my grandfathers was Irish. And my Irish passport recently expired. And I'm like, that's kind of one of these things where it's nice to have an extra passport. And it's cool and it's already something that I want to do. I want to renew my passport. But I don't know, it's kind of tedious because I have to go to the embassy, I don't really live in the country, and then I have to get this certificate, and then I have to pay this amount of money, and I don't know, I don't really want to do it right now. So, you know, that's the kind of thing. And that's something that I just added, like it was today, or earlier today, that I added that to my RAM list. And I have this RAM list, and it's about 6 to 7 things long right now. And when it gets like 10, 15, I'm going to be like, okay, it's time to do this, because this is significantly hindering my life right now. The next thing we need to talk about, which for some reason is like esoteric knowledge, but it really shouldn't be, is your ultradian rhythm. Now you might be, no, I heard about this circadian rhythm thing, but not the ultradian. And that's a very good reason. It's because, I don't know, propaganda, brainwashing, fuck if I know. But this isn't really a concept that a lot of people know about. I've talked about it quite a lot on my channel. But yet, a lot of people don't know about it. So what you think of when you think of circadian rhythm is that you have a body clock. Your body kind of knows when it's nighttime and when it's daytime. A lot of people don't even know this, but that's basically what your circadian rhythm is. And usually when it's nighttime or when your body perceives it to be nighttime, you should be asleep. Now your body perceives this body clock through a bunch of things such as sunlight. For example, if you get sunlight in the morning, you will get like an onset of melatonin in like 14 hours, which will mean that you get sleepy right about the time that the sun goes down. And if you go out at sunrise, or a lot of things go into it, but that's one of the things. If you do exercise, if you have like a consistent schedule, a lot of things go into it, and your body has the system of detecting when it's nighttime and when it's daytime. However, a lot of people don't know that it's not only with melatonin and kind of the sleepiness hormone that this happens. Your ultradian rhythm basically dictates your whole entire life in these cycles of 90 minutes. And all of your hormones are fluctuating throughout your body in these 90-minute cycles. So for this part of the day, you might be, I don't know, high on awareness. For this part of the day, you might be a bit lethargic. For this part of the day, you might be very energized. For this part, and you know, it kind of goes on like this, and your body is fluctuating very similarly. So if you were to actually detect what you do from noon to 1.5 hours past noon, you would be like, oh shit, this is kind of consistent. And if you do the same thing every single day, your body would get used to it. So that gets us into how to actually set your ultradian rhythms for your body to be. How can we actually get our body to be energized when we need to be energized? How can we get our body to be in homeostasis and energy reserving mode when we need it to be? How can we get our body to be sleepy when we need it to be, etc., etc.? The first thing is genetics. I'm not going to lie to you. Genetics plays a huge role in this, and every single sleep scientist who studies sleep and circadian rhythms and ultradian rhythms also talks about how genetics is probably the single biggest determinant, because there are a bunch of genes like there's a BMAL gene. Is it BMAL1? I'm just going to write BMAL1. It might just be BMAL. There's a clock gene. There's cryogenes. There's a bunch of genes basically that go into this, and they actually determine your chronotype and determine how your hormones fluctuate, but you can kind of change this, and that's our second thing, which is behavior. So if you know when your parents were pretty much asleep, what kind of jobs did they have, were they night shift, were they day shift, were they usually working later or earlier, if you kind of know what your parents did, it's a good idea to model them. It's a good idea to be similar to your ancestors, but further, you can actually just keep a consistent fucking schedule. So if you want your body to be active during the time of between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m., or at least you want your body to be aware and very focused, how about you do your work every single day at that time? Because your body will notice. If you have a very, very strict, similar schedule and a very fixed routine, your body will kind of understand, oh shit, we're getting sunlight every single day right after we wake up, which means this is usually the time where we wake up and we go outside, and then we should get energy and a bit of cortisol to wake us up, and then we should do this and that. And your body will clock onto this, because yeah, obviously, you need some level of genetics, and you can't do exactly the opposite of what your ancestors used to do, sure. But once you've got that, you can kind of like move around. You have a bit of leeway, you have a bit of wiggle room with this. And if you start going in like a pattern and you start repeating the same routine over and over and over again, it will stick. And you will start to realize that, oh shit, instead of, having a quick few push-ups here and then, we'll go for a run at night before bed, and oh shit, and we do a gym session with someone in the morning, it will be much worse than if you actually have a consistent routine of doing your workout at this time, doing this workout at this time, etc., etc. If you consistently work at the same time, you will be more focused. If you do your whole entire life in this situation, in this kind of manner at least, it will be better. Now, caveat to this is obviously you don't want to have the same routine for your whole entire life, and I get that, and I don't either. So for that reason, the best thing you can do is to have seasons of life where you actually have the same schedule for a few months, and then you switch your schedule for, let's say, 2 months, and then you have the same schedule for 5 months, and for 7 months, and then you kind of live in this way where, okay, we have this season of doing this thing, we have that season of doing that thing, and then you change around like this because it really, really helps you to actually have a good dialed in ultradian rhythm. Now, you don't have to, as I said, you don't have to have this fucking thing until the rest of your life, because that's just unrealistic, but it really, really does help if you can at least stick to it for a while, and you can actually keep going with the same rhythm, because once your body realizes that this is how we work, it will really aid you in it. Your body is on your side. The reason it's not acting like it, and the reason you're lethargic and depleted and tired all the time, is because it doesn't know what the fuck to expect. It's like, oh yeah, the past 3 days we were working out at this time, so we're going to pump us with energy, and you're there trying to take a nap. Like, what the fuck? Like, this is one of the biggest reasons, and I really hope you're paying attention to this. So just at least, as much as you can, try to incorporate like a rhythmic and like reliable tendency to how your day looks like. The next reason is burnout. And you might be like, oh yeah, overworking, overwhelm, yeah, might be, he's onto something. I promise you, or at least less than 1% of people that I know actually ever experience overwhelm or burnout because of overworking. Overworking to the point of burnout is very, very rare, at least to the extreme high performers. Now, respect to you, you might have experiences, I don't fucking know who you are, but I'm gonna lean towards the other direction and think about maybe not. The reason I wrote out burnout is because the most common way to burn out is not actually overworking. It's actually misalignment. And the reason that is that your body, your soul, or whatever you want to conceptualize this of as, does that even make fucking sense? Whatever way you want to think of it, your body or your soul or your physiology or God or whatever is sending you a signal that this ain't it. This ain't really what we should be working at. This ain't what we should be working towards. And whenever you start working and you do it and you do it and you keep going and you keep going, you might think, oh, it's overworking, oh, that's why I'm burnt out. But it's usually misalignment. It's usually your body sending you a signal that, hey, maybe this isn't getting us what we want. Maybe this isn't making us happy. Maybe this isn't what we should be onto. This is very deep, and this goes back to values. And this should lead you down a kind of tough road of soul searching. Because if you don't really know what your values are and what you should be doing in life, of course you're going to be misaligned. Of course you're going to get burnt out. A lot of people think that procrastination is like an error in evolution, or like a function that doesn't have any way to fucking work, but it doesn't make any sense, because if we think about it, we procrastinate for 5 reasons. The first reason being fear. We fear something because it might kill us, it might harm us. It makes like a bunch of sense. Second reason is clarity, or at least lack of clarity. We could be procrastinating because of that, because the thing at hand seems too big. It seems unsurmountable. We don't know it, and that also might scare us. The third thing is values. If we don't think the thing is aligned to our values, we will have this tendency to be a bit repelled from it. We're like, yeah, I don't know. And even though like we might consciously be like, yeah, we need to get the money, if our values say no, we will feel this constant force away from it. Now, of course, we can discipline ourselves and make sure this line of our conscious thought, and we kind of go through it and, I don't know, do it when it's hard, or what's like that saying, whatever. And you might still do it a few times, but if this force is always here and you always feel repelled from it and you always have to use discipline, it's not going to stick. I'm sorry, it's not. And just to drill this point in a bit further, imagine like a Nestle worker or someone who works for one of these big multinational like companies which is known to like corrupt the environment. And this person is like a super green person. They always vote green. They think like reserving the environment is very, very important. And they work for a company which is known for being predatory against the environment. Like, even though their paycheck depends on it and their livelihood depends on it, if they have this line here which is constantly pushing them away from, no, don't do the work, and they're not thinking this, by the way, this is all subconscious. They're like, oh, no, why am I not working? Why am I not working? I really want to work. Then they get this discipline arrow, then they start working even harder, and then they think, oh, it must be overworking, so I must chill out. No, motherfucker, you just switch models. You stop doing this shit that is clearly not working for you. You clearly don't want to be doing this, and that's why you have this force constantly counteracting every single piece of effort that you put into this thing. Why do you not notice it? It's all subconscious, but you have to do a bit of soul searching and be like, holy fuck, I've been doing like the devil's work this whole time. And it might not be this obvious. You know, this is quite an obvious example of someone working for Nestle and having the super green outset, but it could be just not really living true to your values, whatever your values are. You know, Robert Greene says that a lot of these go back to childhood, like you had this one task that you really liked, or you had this one hobby that you really liked. A lot of people say that it's usually something that you're good at. And the self-determination theory says self-determination theory that something that you will really, really value and that you really like is something where you are competent, you are wanted, like you have good company and the people around you really, really feel like you're doing something very important, and you have autonomy. So if you feel like you're actually good at what you have and you have skills, if you feel like you're wanted and the people around you like you and you also like them, and you have autonomy where you actually have some like creative expression and you can actually tell yourself what you're going to do, and you don't have daddy always telling you to do this, do that, at that time and this place and that whatever, you will be a lot more aligned to your values. And of course, there comes the underlying thing of passion and this question, which we already kind of hinted on, things that you just genuinely are like exclusive to you and you like them. You know, some questions to lead you to what your values could be is, what did you value in your childhood? What's the problem that you went through that you don't want others to go through? Because that's very noble that a lot of people do that, and I think that's a great place to start. But what are some flow state tasks? What are some tasks that you do and you lose track of time? You get so focused with no effort really. You just go into it and you're so lost in it and you're so good at it. That could be some very interesting questions for you to answer. And after you've answered them, what is something that you could get into, or at least you would like to get into, where you could work towards this? If you don't already have these, like, don't worry, because there's very few people who actually have them, especially in their workplace. But how could you work towards having checked off every 3 boxes of the self-determination theory of actually being competent at what you do, being good at it, being wanted, and you having like a good company around you? And finally, having autonomy and actually being your own boss to at least some extent. You don't have to start your own company, although I think that's a good option. You can also get into a company where you have some level of autonomy and actually feel wanted and competent, and then you should really not be having any problem with misalignment burnout. The final thing is fake fatigue. As we went along in this video, things got a bit more esoteric and weird, but fake fatigue is something that I'm very big on, because a lot of people, you probably know quite a few people like this who always are like, oh, I'm so tired, man, and they do one thing. I swear, I know one person like this and it pisses me the fuck off. They do one thing and they're like, oh, I can't believe I'm so tired, man, and this and that, and I have to do this. They're like serial complainers. And you sure, like, I'm not invalidating their reality. They say this for a reason. But the thing is, every single time you say that you're tired, or you say something and you start complaining, you're reinforcing this identity. I'm just a tired person. This is what happens when you say that you're tired. You start giving in and saying +1, +1, +1 to tiredness every single time. This is one thing, and even though you're tired, you don't have to reinforce it. But I digress. I'm not going to go even deeper into this point because people will fucking click off this video. But the other thing is, actually, notice the word that I used here. It's very, very weird, but these 2 words mean very different things. You know, fatigue is actually how tired is your body, how worked is your body, how, like, I don't know, fully energized and shit are you, like, literally. And how tired do you feel? This is usually a feeling. Oh, I feel tired. I have this, I have that. Now, tiredness is a feeling, and that doesn't mean that you're out of it. And drowsiness and tiredness and, oh, I feel like this, I feel like that. This is a feeling, and I beg you pay attention now, because this is super important. You might be lying on the couch, you might be in food coma, and you might have less energy, at least you feel like, in your mind. But do your muscles still work? Did you hit like an insane gym workout where you literally can't move your muscles anymore? You know, sometimes you do that, sure. You should take a few hours off. Did you have like a marathon that day? Usually your body isn't that fatigued. I'm just going to say it right here. Now, of course, if you train full body 5 times a week, or you're a marathon runner or some shit like that, sure, you're going to be fatigued at sometimes, but even that doesn't entirely validate your reality. But the thing is, usually we're like, oh, we're tired. And you know, you still can be tired without being fatigued, and that's still a valid excuse. However, if you're tired, usually you actually can influence the mind through the body. So your mind is tired. This is in mind. This is body. And you know, we all know that we can influence the mind through the body. So if we get like less fat, we get healthier. And we have all of these scans that our brain works better with specific foods, with specific substances, etc., etc. So quite obviously our mind and our physiology and everything pretty much is influenced by the physical body alone. But it actually works the other way around. And not only the body to the mind, but the mind to the body. So once we start doing things when we're tired and we're like, we go drop down to the floor, do a few push-ups. When we're tired, by the way, our body will adapt. Our body's like, oh shit, okay, let's start pumping him with energy because he clearly needs it. You know, this goes back to the point that we were talking about in the Ultradian rhythm. Your body is on your side. You're just lying around, you're signaling now is a good time to sleep. Now is a good time to rest. Your body's going to take the opportunity. I mean, why the fuck wouldn't it? So if you signal to it, oh shit, we're in this state where we need to fight, where we need to do something, your body will be on your side. You will get out of it quite quickly. So not only will you have this thing in your mind where you're like, okay, I'm going to drop down do a few push-ups, you will signal back to your body, and your body's going to be like, oh shit, we should spam him with these kind of hormones, and we should do this. Then your mind is going to be feeling more energized, and then doing the thing that you initially wanted to do, which is working or going on a run or whatever, might be that much easier. So giving into this fatigue of just because I'm in a food coma, or just because I don't feel I have a strong enough reason to get up right now when I'm feeling sad or something, isn't really real. Like, you still have the decision to do something. Like, I had this thing when I was a kid, like literally like 15 years ago or 20 years ago, where I would be a bit sick. And, you know, I kind of felt a bit guilty for not going to school, for not going to kindergarten or whatever when I was sick. And I was like, yeah, but I could like stand up right now, I could run around. But the thing is, I still wasn't healthy. Just because I could do those things doesn't mean that I was healthy. In this same way, where if you're tired, yeah, sure, you're still tired, but you can do like, just finish the work task. You can just go for another quick run. You can still do these things. Now, it's not always going to be good for you. Of course, there's a caveat. Obviously, if you're sick, you still shouldn't do these things. That was like a weird thinking analogy that I said there, but my point is that even when you're tired, you can still probably do one more task. You can still probably do one more run. You can still probably do one more workout. You just don't need to listen to it every single time. And tiredness is not the same as fatigue. Even though I drew 2 lines here, this should be a not equal sign, and that's also quite a scuffed fucking non-equal sign, but whatever. Whenever you feel like you're tired, you can literally just get out of it. And you know, you can still use substances on the body right away, such as caffeine or nicotine or whatever you want to use. But you don't have to. You can just drop down, do a few fucking push-ups, do a few jumping jacks, and that should be able to catapult you right into work. Every single time you give into tiredness or you give into fatigue, any of them, although yes, it might be warranted. I'm not going to go full fucking red pill bro and tell you to work harder every single time. But the thing is, every single time you do this, you reinforce the identity of being shit. And these two are also very, very interlinked. You reinforce the identity of being a tired person and everything. And I heard people say this like, oh, I just need 9 hours of sleep every single night. Now, I highly doubt that's true. Even though I myself somewhat identify as a person who needs more sleep, or at least that's what I experienced, I still guarantee that my sleep isn't 100% dialed in. I could probably, if my sleep was 100% perfect, like Brian Johnson type shit, I could survive off of 6 hours of sleep. I could survive off of 7 hours of sleep, and it would probably be quite optimal, because if the sleep that I actually got was 100% optimal, and I was in REM and deep sleep and everything, it would probably be enough. So saying that I need more sleep and I need 8-9 hours of sleep isn't true. It just simply isn't. You know, saying I need more sleep might be true, but why would I tell myself that? Why would I identify with that? Because if you understand someone has the identity that, oh, I need 9 hours of sleep to function, Now when they wake up, they have like an excuse. Their brain is giving them like an olive branch. Their brain is like, oh no, you remember you need 9 hours of sleep. Today was just 7 hours and 38 minutes. That's not enough. And now you go back to sleep just because your identity told you that, oh shit, we identify as this person who needs more sleep. So now it doesn't really make sense for us to get up. You just took the fucking option. You just took the branch and you were like, okay, yeah, let's go back to sleep. And I'm saying this, by the way, because I'm a big culprit of this, This very specific example, I used to do this a lot. I used to be like, oh yeah, I just need more sleep, man. Yeah, it's just how I am. And then I would go back to sleep just because I identified with this. So every single time you feel tired, don't necessarily lean into it. Don't be like, yeah, I'm tired. You might as well acknowledge it that, okay, I feel tired, but don't say I am tired, because that is when it becomes you. That's when it becomes your ego, your identity. And you don't necessarily have to that. You can acknowledge that you feel tired, but you can try. You can be like, I wonder if I'll feel tired if I hit a few jumping jacks, if I hit a few push-ups. Or I'm going to start going on my run, use the 2-minute rule. I'm going to start going onto my run. I'm going to get my running shoes on. I'm going to do my stretches. I'm going to start jogging around the block. If I still feel tired in 5 minutes or 2 minutes or whatever, I'll stop. Usually, your body will send signals, or your mind will send signals to your body to start working. Your body will. Your body's whole biochemistry will change. It will send signals to your mind that, oh shit, now we're awake and everything. And then you can keep going. And you can catapult yourself into whatever you want to do.